Got to your club. Got to your club.
Yeah, that's just because you wanted to ball out.
No, I didn't really. No.
Bien fait.
You guys know how much money I'm spending now?
Quittez le marché.
People will think that I'm a drug dealer at this point.
Quittez comme le marché. Quittez comme le marché.
It's very unnecessary, you know?
I'll be out here let this money ride. I'm like, yo, what else am I gonna do? Money ride again?
What I was saying, but yeah, it was saying the link of the comments. I was reading the comments, LG, and it was saying like in context, they receive. First of all, the article is old from like February of this year.
Of this year, it's old now. My goodness! Like, how fast
we're
the road?
The quarter already left. But what I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that in context, one person commented saying that it was from realtor.com, and they're also providing data analysis for different subgroups as well, like Asian and white American and stuff like that. And then underneath that. One person commented saying, "Oh, I bet they are paying their mortgage with child support payments too." I'm like, "Bro,
it's messed up."
Some men out here hate us.
But hey! So I guess this is the topic. We're gonna have to call it what it is. So
call it what it is.
Hey everyone! Welcome to the Financial Griot. It's an episode, and we're recording.
By the way, I'm deleting. I'm deleting.
I'm actually recording right now. I'm actually doing.
Oh, sorry.
You know what? I don't think we're recording.
We're recording.
No, we're not. We're not recording. Oh, we
Let's
are.
Keep it moving.
It's even worse. The heck?
Keep it going.
Welcome. Yes. So you are here listening to very professional, three young professionals, or I guess I'm getting old, middle, millennial, geriatric millennial myself. We're going to talk about different issues as relate to personal finance, wealth, growth, and almost even real-time conversations, because the only way you can actually really build on wealth is to actually fix some of the issues we currently have and actually change the way that we think about the problem and also take action to move forward. So I'm here flanked by my two lovely co-hosts, and one of them, no pun intended, her name is Lovely. So go ahead, Lovely, tell them who you are, what you do.
Hey, my name's Lovely Mordelis. I am a person. I'm just joking. But
Lovely, today it's like this. Today is the day, huh? Like you quit.
This is what happens when you guys want to record on a Friday afternoon. I've been quiet
quitting. I think that's what's going on. She's quiet quitting. She's being anti-professional.
No, but in all seriousness, my name is Lovely Mordelis. I'm actually graduating with my MBA in about like 2 weeks, which I want to tell everybody about.
Exactly what a black woman would say when a black man doesn't
graduating with another degree. And I'm actually applying for a Harvard master's to PhD program.
And this is why you have student loan debt.
I have student loan debt that I will be done in 2024. I know. 2024. I'm going to be done paying them in 2024 because, we're trying to be at least financially astute. But in all seriousness, one of the things that I really want to bring into the world is good foundations. Like that's like the word that I've been coming up with, of the things that I do, is that bring good foundations to what we're doing. Because I think so many of us have buildings that we're building on poor foundations. Lawrence always talks about that in terms of finance. Like if you don't have a budget, like how are you like day trading? But whole other conversation. So that's what I want to do. I want to provide the world with better foundations, and specifically in the intersection of business and healthcare. Those are the two things that I'm realizing that I have a passion for, because you have health, you can't do anything. And business actually makes the world go round and round and round. Everybody works for an entity that's run, whether it's an institution, whether it's an organization, whether it's a private business. Everybody works in teams to accomplish goals. So I want to be one of the people that help inform teams and organizations how to be better. And that's what I do.
We're capitalists, so that's what we do. That's what we share. Just keep it a buck. Just keep it a buck.
A capitalist?
We're in the system, this ecosystem of spend, save, invest, and spend. That's it.
Pretty much.
It just go all around. What's up, everyone? My name's Atlanta, one of three of the co-hosts of the Financial Griot, aka TFG. And yes, because Lovely want to just shout out the day we're actually recording. No one knew.
Wait, what? I didn't shout a day. Did I?
Yes, you did. You did.
I did, but nobody knows that I'm graduating, though. I said I'm graduating in 2 weeks.
No, you said the day we're recording.
See, you don't even know what we're talking about.
It's all right. You're graduating.
On
You
a
got a lot
Friday?
on your plate.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you don't care. See, she don't even know what day it is no more. She forgot. On the Friday?
She's like, whatever. She's like, I'm graduating. I'm about to go to Harvard. Harvard.
Yeah, definitely applying
And
for the Harvard
this is
program.
a strong Black woman conversation.
Oh
and
my
this is exactly the problem.
But you
It's
know,
God.
exactly
so
the
Why
many
problem.
you
haters.
have to do
This is
this?
exactly the problem. This is why
This
that
is
post was talking
exactly
about.
why we
problem.
can't.
You
That's
know
why the
what?
post. That's why the post was talking about.
I thought the Friday evening thing was a good thing, but now it's seeming that we're a little bit too hyper. I think the
This
morning
is
time.
LG all the time. LG's like, I'm off for work.
No,
Let's go.
I'm actually fine. I'm trying to play into the conversation we're supposed to be having about the post.
I
Lawrence doesn't even work
definitely
anymore.
understand.
Like I don't even know why you even.
I really don't think
he-
Lawrence worked.
He doesn't work.
I am so convinced he
has
doesn't
a
work. The way he
six-figure
push out
job, but it
articles
does
and
not
everything
work.
throughout the day
Wow,
and the
way he
messages, I'm
pushes
like,
out articles,
I'm like, you're not
messages.
working, bruh.
Hey,
You're
let's
not
just say
working.
I'm that damn good. How about that? Like, how you be?
Nah, you're not working.
You're not
Well,
working.
what's that like?
Remote.
It's okay.
What that vibe? I'm be like,
What?
you're doing what you want to do. I'm like, what are you talking about? But you know what? I do appreciate Lawrence for keeping me up to date when it comes to these things, because I am in the office, I am in meetings, I am talking to colleagues, and he's at home working from home, doing the millennial thing, and keeping us, what's going on in the world, what's happening.
Mhm.
So I appreciate it. So you can provide that information to us. So again,
Okay. Well, let's segue into some real conversation.
mhm.
So we have a thing that's an article that was someone.
Did you see it, Lovely?
Yeah, it's
Will you
called
share it?
Female Black Home Buyers Outperform Black Males. Wow. An early report by Realtor.com found that women who are transforming the landscape of home purchases. This is also true for Black female buyers. Between 1990 and 2019, Black women increased their home ownership rate by 5.6%, while Black males, wow, okay, that even shook me. While Black men's home ownership rate declined by 8%. Oh, and I'm guessing
Are you surprised by the number?
I'm surprised about the rate of decline because it would I thought it would kind of be more like neutral-ish, like in terms of like we're seeing an uptick of Black women getting increased home ownership, but then it's like neutral for the men. Maybe they're not moving up or down, but 8%, the decline and an increase in a surplus, like when you look at that statistically, that's actually like, wow.
Yeah, the math is a little bit tricky too with that, because sometimes when they espouse these numbers, which I'm fine with women kind of getting their homes, moving on in life, and that was my commentary to the person that sent it to me. I could also say that for the vast majority, I think our actual national housing or Black home ownership is actually trending lower. So we're amongst some of the lowest owners in the U.S. I think it's around like 40% and going lower and lower. So this increase that we're talking about is not as big in comparison. It's like basically taking 8% times the 40%, and that's the actual number. Does it make sense?
Like the bigger picture amongst minority.
We're just not, like, as a whole group.
As a whole,
we're just
gotcha.
not doing what we're supposed to do, and it does make sense to the fact that there is a decline for men, because we're seeing the decline in marriages. We're seeing the decline in people even have relationships.
But you know why that's happening, right?
Of money. It's a function of money.
Do you guys understand why people are like not getting married anymore?
It's all a function of moolah, money, pure money. Guys don't have the money right now. Dates are about $100 a date or plus.
Is that why they always push us to settle?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Let me see if I could give out three things just off the top. So we have one, the issue that a lot of Black men are basically underemployed or unemployed or structurally unemployed. The idea is that they just don't have the skills to take the jobs, and a lot of Black men don't even want to take the jobs that are available for whatever station in life that they are. So even if McDonald's was hiring, like, or Best Buy was hiring, or Walmart was hiring, they'll be like, nah, I don't want to do it, because socially, this is the second problem. Socially, we've been going through a shift as far as social media, what we see, what we, I guess, aspire for in society. Nobody wants the person making $40K a year anymore. They just want to be in a position where everybody's making $100,000 out of nothing. And as they're also traveling everywhere, they're also YouTube superstars or Instagram famous, and then they're also, I guess, enjoying their life. So that's part two. And finally, in the end of the day, all of this other aspect of life requires money. And if you don't have the first two, and your priority is not in line, how do you even get the money enough to buy a home? You can't. And that's why I'll drop it right there. I got three in there.
So you're seeing it purely from a financial perspective. When I see it
I'm
from
seeing
a
it from a
mostly
socioeconomics perspective.
okay,
Combination of both.
fair. But I also see that there's a trend in just, so you know how we always talk about like the chicken and the egg scenario, like which came first? I also think there's a deep trend of people just don't want to deal with people right now. Like it's deeply rooted in culture
People don't want to
that
people no more.
people don't want to people. And also like it's like a mini clip of TD Jakes' wife, Sarita Jakes, that's been like going viral, where she's talking about how the vows used to be for better or worse, richer or poorer. And she's getting a lot of backlash right now about how that generation wants us to stay in unhappy relationships, unhappy marriages, where people are doing the most atrocious things. And we don't want to do that anymore. So while I definitely believe there's a social economic influence, but there's this very big cultural shift where I think that maybe it would have still had a decline because of the financial perspectives that are going on in the economy. But I think there's a heavy push for a culture of people that just don't care to do the whole I'm going to grow with someone, we're going to go through different seasons and we're going to make it to the other side. People, if you breathe wrong, I don't want to be with you. I can't. I don't have the time, the breath to even deal with you.
And you have a point there, but I just told you that, well, socioeconomic also includes culture. The idea that society is shifting towards the modernization, and because of modernization, or the idea that anybody could do for themselves and you don't necessarily need anybody else in the grand framework, right? Everybody feels like they could do it on their own. Like a lot of back in the day, maybe 100 years ago, we didn't have Amazon delivery coming to your crib. It just wasn't happening. People had to go figure out how to get water, how to get food, how to hunt for food 400, 500 years ago. All these social norms are being thrown out the window because everything is rendered easy now and relatively safe. I think a big part of what women ended up with men for, or whatever it was for safety. That was safety in numbers, safety in community, safety in people around you. There's protection there. And now in a society that offers protection en masse, do you really need a man directly for yourself to protect you? Probably not. And that makes a lot of sense why women are also looking around saying, maybe it's not a big thing. And also, ever since 2020, and no, probably 2010s, and I've been saying it for a very long time, every time there was a shooting of a cop versus a black male, so on and so forth, we've almost basically pushed up the narrative that black men are the perpetual victims. I mean, perpetually they're gonna be the one to die. When you tell that narrative enough to yourself, right, for whatever justification reason, and to protest and all that good stuff, you tell yourself that, but subconsciously what you're telling women in your society, black women, is that black men can no longer offer you protection. At worst, that even if you have a baby by this black man, a little black boy or whatnot, black girl, there will also be without protection. When what do you think, women that are of sound mind do? Women have always leaned towards the idea of like, hey, safety, prosperity, or prolonging oneself. Why would you actually date a black man if you know he might gonna die? That's what you subconsciously tell people every time an issue like this happens. It's like you made the black man to be an unempowered person. He is a weakling. He's not confident. He can't command himself. He cannot protect himself. So how can he protect you?
I think it's
Oh, it got pretty weird, huh?
No, I think it's all of those reasons and even more, because wasn't there an article, even I shared it or someone else in the group shared it, about people are more lonelier than ever now.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Yeah, it's extremely bad. So I do agree with both of you. It's a social economic perspective, and when it comes to culture, and then when you got the media portraying expectation of how relationships should be, then you have have people devising these sort of discussions how Black women are very demanding, or they want these certain sort of male companionship or partners or husbands, and it's a lot of that red pill blue pill sort of thing, whatnot, and it just is really trickling into the reality in the real world of men are not even trying anymore. Like really low key, not even trying. Where there was a statistic out there, don't quote me. It was I don't really want to say the number, where single men are not even attempting to date. Not even attempting.
So where are people getting the needs met?
Like video games, social media. This is a drug, yo.
Yeah, it is. That's where the
It
generic
feeds the
need.
dopamine all the time. If you could have sex, if you can have these
Oh yeah,
friendships online, these communities online, what is the need to go out?
yeah. You don't even
Think
need
about it.
to.
You really
Yeah.
don't need to go out. Amazon come to you, food comes to you. Like you have FaceTime sometimes, video time sometimes. Like people play video games, like virtual live video games. Like my nephews play with the cousin out in Palm Bay. Like they're hours apart, but they're constant communication on virtual games, and they talk while they're playing their game without even seeing each other. Like this is the reality that we're in. Like people are very lonely. Even if you think they have this like quote unquote social life, however you want to go about it, people are really lonely out here. And honestly, I could just be as far as I don't know if it's just longer with single people or lonelier in general, because you have people that
Lonely in
marry are lonely.
general.
You know what I mean? So
There's a whole trend right now about the single married woman. Like it's a conversation right now. A lot of women are getting divorced because they feel like I'm single, just married though, with a title.
because they're doing everything by themselves,
They're
right?
doing everything with themselves. Like they're the breadwinner, but they're still the ones being full-time mom, full-time caregiver in the home. And it's like, well, I'm doing all the things, and what is your purpose here?
But I will say too, going to LG, the article that was posted from realtor.com is the media and these online media publications, they purposely do these things, these clickbait headlines to get people attention, right? Because Forbes done it, CNN done it, Black woman pacing, home ownership than Black men. Like this again, this divisiveness of splitting us to say that we're over, in our community over Black men. And it goes to LG point again, where it's like, is almost where they're becoming non-existent in these conversations. Like it's constantly about Black women, but it's in a way of
Putting versus that.
this versus that, right?
But I see. The only thing I would say to that is that you're right. But the chicken and the egg thing comes back again. The reason that they've gone down this narrative is because it started to work from the very beginning. First, they'll just run the news. The news, nobody really cared. It was boring. There was some sports. They added some weather, and then every once in a while they added social commentary. That's when you had the morning news, where they just kind of dress a little bit more relaxed. The Saturday news, the Sunday news, and then you have media personalities pop out of nowhere, and everybody spouting opinions. As these opinions became a little boring, somebody spices it up and they go online now. They're saying they write about just anything. So when we write about these things, let's say women versus men, right? That was like the biggest thing in the 2000s and 2000 to 2010. That was about women versus men. It didn't matter which woman, it didn't matter which man. It was just a generic thing. But then they started peppering it up because somebody has to, let me add a spin because I want to be represented. So somebody adds the spin of, hey, the white woman versus white men, Asian woman versus Asian man, and Black woman versus Black men. And then you know what happens? they start to notice that we click the shit out of these things. I'm sorry for cursing,
Yep.
but we click, click, and we love to have the commentary, because it's not just that we saw the article, is that we have multiple days, conversations
Drawn out
about
conversations
it.
about
Like
it.
they've been talking about this stuff for years now. For years. It's actually very silly because it's very childish, and real men, in my opinion, real men are not supposed to sit here and go back and forth with women. It was never part of our credo. It's not something that we do. Is we listen to what the complaints are, problems are, so on and so forth. But a man, for whatever reason, our natural inclination is to solve something. If we do not solve something, we become aimless. We do nothing. That means we are unpowered. We have no priorities, no purpose. And you're seeing all these purposeless men, right? Just sit around and they conjecture about women, or even, females are doing this, which is very weird to say. But to say that about a woman, that she's not succeeding, like, the problem is not her succeeding. The problem is your stat is going negative. You should be you should be more concerned about your stats, not her stats, your stats, because the more you improve your stats, the less this conversation needs to happen. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, absolutely makes sense. I just hate where that point is drawn, but it's always the argument comes of the historical context of how, Black men has been institutionalized, prisons, a lot of laws, which I definitely understand, but is that going to be solely the excuse?
So the law forced you to do drugs. The law forced you to sell drugs to your fellow man. The law forced you to rob the other guy. Nobody does all of this stuff. It's one thing to say that, hey, we caught a whole bunch of Black guys that were stealing food from the grocery store to feed their families. It's another thing to say, hey, we caught a whole bunch of Black guys trying to steal Jordans from Nike store. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole other paradigm.
No, I will say,
we need to really,
in the 80s and the 90s when they pushing out predatory.
And we didn't have to feed into it. Majority of the stuff we fed into it wholesale. I was a young Black boy. Alana, you were not. I saw this happen real time where we were just like, hey, you have to dress this way, and also you have to disrespect people. And the majority of little boys have no concept of disrespecting anybody unless they're taught this concept of disrespecting people, or of behaving a certain way. We teach kids how to react to society. And then we get like, oh, shoot, I can't believe society did this. No, we taught them this in our music, in our language, in our radio, in our schools. We had what these weird the security guards that was at the school. I don't even think they even graduated high school, but they're high school security guards. And they were doing all types of stuff with the kids. All this stuff was known. We allowed this to happen, and then we pay for the consequences of today. That we have a lot of aimless men that don't know what the heck to do, because we taught them to do nothing else but to disrespect, nothing else but to not work, and to sit there and hopefully wait for some kind of super entitlement, because in the end of the day, it'll never come.
Meu coisa. No, it's true.
I got mad.
I can hear it. I can tell. I can't see you, but I can tell.
We can't excuse it anymore, because that's not how you
that
function.
Marine talk.
Like it is not even Marine talk. It's really how men used to talk. We don't get into these things. When you look at real guys have real conversations, we hear, hey, there's a leak. There's two type of men now. There's the guy that actually go fix the leak, and the other guy that stands around looking kind of crazy. I have no idea what to do with his life. Majority of guys, if they're well established, they go do something about a problem. They go do something like I had to go the car, the Nissan, it had an issue with the problem. We took it to the mechanic. The mechanic, eventually gave it back to me, and he said, "Oh, there's a battery problem." I figured a mechanic would fix it, but it's strangely enough, it didn't. I'm like, all right, cool. I went to the AutoZone, bought a battery, took out the old tools, cranked that battery out. When it's like weird too. There's different mechanism in there that didn't make any sense, but I made it work. And that's what guys do. We make it work. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to solve the shit out of it and we'll move on.
It's not like that anymore, man. Like,
It's not.
let me tell you. I'm about to go
Yeah,
on a little rant.
go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us about these
Sorry,
men.
yeah.
Tell us about these men.
The mints. Let me tell you what here. It's like if you're a guy and you're listening to this and you're dating or whatever situation may be, you have no idea, as just from a woman perspective, how attractive, when I say attractive, all caps, attractive that is when I come to you or your lady come to you and she has a problem. She is coming to you not just to express the problem, but in this idea to let you know, hey, I need to solve this problem. Can you solve this problem? Like, men don't do that anymore. It's like, dang, that's wild. That's crazy.
That's wild.
They don't do it. That's wild.
Crazy. Whoa,
that's
bro.
crazy.
They hit you
No,
with,
you should
bro.
pray on it.
Hey, bro, that's a lot. That's a lot, bro.
Oh my gosh, like they don't. Oh, gosh, like when I look at my brothers and they'll let me know, like, okay, these are your options, right? And this could be the better option, depends on what decision, what route you take. And it's just so attractive. Like when you're talking about security and protection, a lot of time it's really not about money. It's not always about money. Sometimes I'm coming to you to let you know I'm stressed about something. I have a lot of things on my plate. It's like, you know what? I can't do this, but I can try to do this for you. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you're
wait. I want to ask this because I think it's important. And you talked about it before that your father passed away, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who taught your brothers all this stuff?
I mean, they spent a good chunk after my mom came back. After my mom came to America, they spent a good chunk in Haiti. So by the time they were like, adult, like young men, they came to America already. So it had to be my uncles, my grandmother, my grandfather, like that half of my family was raising them for the most part.
So in the absence of not
My
having
father.
your father,
Mm-hmm.
there are other people that stepped up and there's other ways that they learned.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get at here is that we could always go back and say, hey, we didn't have, right? But there's always a situation where if you didn't have this thing, A, you might have had so many more access to B, C, D, and E.
Yeah.
Like I saw people fix cars. I didn't really have to fix the car because I saw it. I was able to remember what the heck to do. Or I had some cars that broken down and I had no real way to, I guess, pay anybody for it. I had to look at it and actually allow myself to think about the problem and also solve it myself. So there's an inherent thing about men that we have to tinker with it to solve it. And if you cannot do that as a man, then you need to go back to the oven because you ain't finished baking. You're done. You need to have like a whole different scenario.
While you're talking and me just sit down and really think, like my best relationships or even longest relationships of like just guys I have dated either college or up to now or whatnot, it's always been guys that are problem solvers, like really legitly problem solvers. And it's not the fact that they'll look at you and say, oh, you got to figure out, right? It's the fact that you're my girl or you're a person that's in my life. Let me take care of it. Let me take care of you. Let me try to take care of it. And I just don't know, like, if it's the insecurity part or they just don't know how to or what it can be, or maybe because I was raised around a lot of men, right? My brothers. So it's just like, what? Like
maybe that's also part of the problem. That's chicken the egg. Like a lot of especially young black men in the 80s were growing up without like a male parental figure in the household.
Right.
It just wasn't there. It wasn't around. It wasn't a big thing, but it was a massive issue. It was known, but nobody actually tried to solve it and understood the long-term impact of what that would mean. And I think that's also part of our problem. We had subsequent generations afterwards. Like we had people in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, right? And these kids are being born into single parent households, and the ladies are not really teaching, or they're crafting a certain type of man. Like, hey, you need to be well dressed, you need to be groomed, and you need to be cool and smooth, or that kind of thing. They say these things. They're basically constructing their version of the ideal man into the boy, but they have no idea what a man really is.
Yeah, but no, no, but I would say
I lost the people.
No. I would say some single women did the best they could.
I'm not
right?
saying that it's not a
it's
fault
not always.
to them. It's not
it's not no fault, right?
Yeah, it's just like obviously you're gonna do what your job is, but you can only do it from a perspective of what you think a guy is. But internally, they had no real understanding what a guy really needs to know. It's one thing to say, yeah, there's nothing wrong with a guy to be well groomed or to know how to be sensitive with his feelings or whatever that is. But it is also another thing I could look at another boy and say, man, this kid got problems. This kid is a little bit off. Like, this kid has no discipline. This kid has no, and like, yeah, to his mom or people that care about him, oh, he's just a good kid. He's a nice boy. But nah, this is not the type of kid that you want to raise. That same nice boy that you're looking at right now, he's going to end up being a disaster. Why? Because as a man, we can see, it's almost like we could see the problems within other little boys or other men. I don't know if that even makes sense. Maybe ladies do it the same. Can you not see in other little girls, like if they're going down the wrong path?
Absolutely.
So imagine that from our standpoint as men or young black men. We could look around and be like, yeah, that guy's got problems. That kid right there, you're raising him wrong. But the lady was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, okay. And that's what we do. I guess I just told you that it's a problem, but you might want to get it handled. It's like, nah, it's like, all right, cool. And I guess we gotten to the point where a lot of guys are not stepping up anymore, which is still comes back down to our problem.
So moving forward, what the next? We list all these things, right? And all these are true in its own way or capacity, right? What is going to happen? We are lonelier than ever, if I say that right. We are not coupling up. We're not getting married. We're damn near not having kids anymore, right? For whatever, reason, socioeconomic reason, health reason, environment reason, whatever reason may be. And then we're not owning as much as we should in terms of assets and homes. So what is not only happening to our community, or what is to come for our community in the next 10, 20 years?
For one,
we're going to pay the high consequence.
Yeah, like there is
we're going to pay. There is a consequence.
No. The consequence is fine. I'm just saying we don't have a community. I think that's another thing we need to really know in this world, this day and age. Black people don't have a community. We have enclaves where Black people live. We don't have community. There is no leadership. There is no overarching priorities. There's no mantra, no ethos, no goal. There's nothing that's there. So we do not have a true community. We have what we want to believe is a community, but we don't. It's not there. It's a mirage. It's the idea that doesn't really exist. So what you're seeing today is nothing. And what you're going to find later on down the years, 20, 30 years from now, the consequences that Lovely stated about is going to be very much financial. We're going to be a super underclass. That's just going to happen. Some of us are going to have money, but a lot of us won't have money.
How are you going to be underclass from the underclass?
Yeah. You're going to be a super underclass. You don't know how bad is yet. Because America has docile people to what they perceive to be bad. If you go overseas, you would know what bad really is. Bad in America, generally, back in New York, you'll find maybe you don't have the best running AC, whatever. It's not necessarily as bad as in Mississippi, rural Mississippi. Or it's not as bad as in the favelas in Brazil. This is a whole different level. Or it's not even as bad as somewhere in Southeast Asia, where, hey, if you go missing, nobody's checking for you. This is what I mean to be underclass. That means you really don't have a job. That's not actually going to be part of our problem. We don't get jobs. We don't have access to buying a home anymore because a lot of people are already having a position where they already have the money to buy a home, and we're basically perpetually renting. And we're also going to be almost like phased out, right? Because the more and more you're not procreating, the more other people are coming in, the caravans, whatever, the immigrants coming in, you're going to be phased the hell out. Like whoever your people are, eventually go away. And it's happened all throughout history. If you seek to cease to, I guess, evolve, eventually you just get phased out. That's how life is.
That's what I was going to mention. I think there has to be some, I'm not like doomsday, because I also feel like either
Oh,
something is
that's
going to
Lawrence
click.
all day.
Yeah.
Doomsday. You ain't hear that? You ain't hear that
Like,
rant?
it's
Lawrence said, "You
like,
gonna die. You gonna die and broke."
My hope is
Lawrence is
that
all
like
about doomsday.
when we're thinking about like the same thing concept of evolution, it's because why the Homo sapiens are continuing is that you have to evolve. Do I think there's enough people that can get to the point of evolution? Yeah, I think so. Will it happen? That's just still up in the air to know where that stands. I think it goes back to what I was hearing somebody say that totally makes sense. What ended up happening is that we lost ethos of exactly what Lawrence was saying, community. There's no creed, there's no value system. That's the collective value system. And because we lost those essences, we kind of are building out this playbook. And so we talk about decentralizing religion, decentralizing this, decentralizing that, but we're pulling away from core values that allow for stuff like Black Wall Street to exist, that allow for community movements to exist. However, in evolution, there's opportunity. Even now, like for example, we have like the stuff that's going on with AI. We have all these things. Even now, if you look at all the statistics of who forges innovation, who forges, the usage of these things, it goes to the minority community, quote unquote, which is still really, truly actually the majority. However, we don't see that. We will say, well, we're the most spending, we spend the most. Maybe we need to start spending in a different area. Use the collective things that you have, because I always think about the story of David and Goliath. There is this big monster, there's this big thing that should challenge you, that should beat you, but you can use your rocks, your slings to make a difference, to innovate. And I think that's where the pivot needs to come into our mind. It's not about what little we have, but could we take that little and actually grow it? I believe so. Will it be done? I don't know.
You have more hope than LG.
What the heck? I have hope. I'm gonna be fine. That's my hope. I hope that I'm gonna be fine. Like, what are you tripping about?
No, she means
like,
for the collective.
Like, as I mean, the
just...
collective. The thing is, you cannot force everybody to do what they're supposed to do, right? So the only thing I can actually focus on now is myself, because I can't save anybody. Basically, I can't even swim. So I can't save you if you're drowning. That's a problem. So if I'm going to go out to try to save you and I can barely swim, I'm going to need you to actually help yourself. And we have a lot of people that are very, very comfortable in their loneliness right now. Even if they're lonely, they're very comfortable in that loneliness. Even if they're a little bit miserable here and there, they like to pacify it with TV, with video games, with substance abuse, with hanging out with friends, with spending. Spending is a big thing that people like to pacify their time with. So they're too comfortable in whatever this thing is, and this is why they refuse to change. Only when you are completely uncomfortable, when you're faced against the wall, that's when you're gonna say, you know what, I want to change, right? But for some people, they truly don't want to, and I cannot sit there and try to help those people at all. I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, we have to really stop clickbaiting these headliners when it comes to like Black woman, Black man outpays, blah blah blah, whatever the headline could be for the week.
Yeah,
and not even that.
So people are making money from it.
Yeah,
so
but not even that. They take that conversation or that topic and they just run with it for the next week or two. Like it's not even funny. I'm just like, yo, they're really dragging out this conversation that's not even big, right? But yeah, it's becoming too divisiveness, like in our culture, like too much. And I'm just like, bro, can we talk about something else? Do y'all know the debt ceiling budget they're trying to reach and everything? I'm just like, yo, there's so many things going on in this world right now, and we're talking about this mediocre. I don't know. It's not.
I'm actually getting a lot of feedback from the people that actually send me this, because there's a whole other side chat, and they're going in and they're dropping all this like anecdotal stuff and this ideas, and it's pretty intense. Like they're doing like massive amount of research, but I keep looking at them. It's like, instead of using your infinite knowledge and creativity to almost find a reason to make this thing a thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, the media is after us, and I'm gonna spend an hour, 2 hours, 3, 4, a couple years proving to you that the media is against you. You could have used all of that time, all of that energy, all of your resources to actually create a way that you can solve the problem. That's when numbers,
Right.
when we see things like the net worth of or the household income of Black people is at this level and the other people is this, and people get really mad. I'm like, you got real sensitive. You got real sensitive about some data out here. First, you said the data doesn't exist. Then we show you the data. Then you said the data is fake. But then you turn around another day, say the data is real and it's manipulated. It's all types of problems. But instead of just saying that, you know what? I know a lot of people not making a lot of money. I know a lot of people sitting on their behinds and they're resting in their laurels. I know a lot of people not doing what they need to do. Instead, let me challenge myself, because I can't force anybody else to do it first. I need to challenge myself to improve. Then I also need to challenge my friends to improve. And then I need to challenge my community to improve. And that's the only way I can do this. But if we sit back and everything is of this utmost sensitivity and everything goes back to, oh, infinite slavery, Jim Crow, redlining. What else do we have out there? Systemic school to prison pipeline. My teacher stole my apple when I was a kid, and
Oh my God.
that it's like, oh shoot, your teacher did what? Yeah, my teacher decided not to show up, so there was a substitute that day, and there's so many issues you could just create out of thin air, instead of just saying that, you know what, maybe I could use my infinite knowledge right now to create all infinite possibilities and solutions. And that's what I choose to do.
Yeah, I think if we're not having those conversations within ourselves, how can you identify that? We
Right.
pacify
And I think
all these
there's,
challenges.
yeah, and I also think there's multi levels to making change. And I think that's where the idea of the collective is, because I do think that some of it needs to be policy, right? And individual work. So there's like multi tiers of change. But I think at the baseline, because we're not even doing the basic stuff, we can't even get to the systematic things. Because you can't even do the system things if individually you're not okay. Like, no matter how much you want to impact, like, let's say healthcare, or you want to impact how funds are given to businesses, all these things. But if you don't have the baseline being okay and you're stressed, and that's another thing. I think that we're asking too much of people that are already stressed and tapped out. They are, as much as we think that these people are okay mentally, they're not. They're just not. And there's a mental fortitude that's going to require for them to change. Because I don't think sometimes it's not people that don't want to do well or don't want to change. I think that they're mentally checked out. Taxing, poverty is taxing, lowness is taxing, and it takes that type of mindset, that bullish mindset, to say all of that doesn't matter and I'm going to persevere through. But some people are stuck in this loop in their brain. And until that thing is broken through, you're going to continue to see perpetually the behaviors that we have been seeing.
Yeah, there's a book that was out there. I actually never finished. It's so dense. It's called Anti-Fragility. And the professor that wrote it, or it's so long, it's so deep, it's so crazy. But the idea is that we're of course people are going to be fragile. That's how we start off in the world. We start off weak, we start enfeebled, we start off without strength, without consequence, without issues, and then we struggle to breathe. Even that's the first breath is a hard breath to take. We struggle to walk, we struggle to run, we struggle to even eat different foods. That's what we learn along the way. And at some point in 2020 or even in 2023, where we're at now, you have people that are afraid to struggle anymore. And I personally don't think these people are stressed enough. I think they need to go deeper into that stress.
No, I think it's a different stress.
Can I finish? Can I finish my
No,
rant?
no, I'm cutting you off because I'm rude. I don't continue.
Yeah. So I think they need to be stressed to the bring to kind of bring about something different within them and a certain level of change. I think a lot of people go through that, like a few stressors, maybe level 1, maybe level 2, maybe even level 3, but they need to actually overcome level 5 in order for them to face level 10. They have to be able to overcome level 6 to even go beyond level 11 or something like that. They have to keep going in order for them to actually find a resolution that they seek. So the amount of stress that they're under, I think it's masked by a lot of laziness. There's a lot of mismanagement of time that's there
for
from the
sure.
moment that we wake up to the moment that we go to sleep. A lot of us are just burning through time. I want there to be a higher power. I'd want the higher power to ask the question, like, what did you do with your time? Like with the time
I
that you
think
had.
that's going to definitely be a question.
That's the
if we
question.
do have a conversation.
Yeah, it's
God
not.
is probably going to be like, y'all should have fixed the world in a year.
Yeah, I think God is a fair
time.
God. I think God is fair enough that He's going to look at you and not what you did. Like you didn't have to become LeBron. You didn't have to be, Serena Williams. You didn't have to be, because we just talked about that, Michelle Obama or whoever. You didn't have to be these people that completely changed the world. But the ideal is like, so what did you do? Oh, you watched a lot of Netflix. It's a lot. It's like hours upon hours of Netflix. Like, what did you do after that? Did you write a blog about this where you share your thoughts and ideas about what you read? Did you really interact with the world in a way that makes sense?
It was meaningful.
That's
nothing.
Do
you think though that there's like I don't know, because it's like sometimes I want to give us like the benefit, but I really do think that it does come down to pure laziness, and you do have to break through it's like this invisible shield. And I think that that's the problem with our generation of like, okay, you see how we can create content, right? Like you can share whatever ideals and opinions, whatever you want online, curated, whatever, which I don't necessarily think is a complete bad thing. And I think there's negative and positive and negative effects of that. But one thing that I've learned, so when I went to get my Invisalign, and one of the things about Invisalign is that it's braces that you can literally take off. I do have the brackets that they glue on, but you have to, for every day, spend a minimum of 20 to 22 hours in your mouth, right? And it starts to shift. So I haven't seen one of my friends in like 3-4 weeks, and we went out to dinner recently, and she's like, "Oh, your jaw is changing." I'm like, "Yeah, it's crazy because it's been 5 weeks." But there's something about compliance. Like the material is moving my mouth. But if I wasn't wearing it, it would not move my mouth. It requires a lot more discipline. Anytime I eat something, I have to brush, floss, and then I use this thing called smartwash to wash my mouth because it's plastic in your mouth all day. And if you don't do those things. And then I went to my dental hygienist. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're taking such good care." And I could tell. And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" She's like, "A lot of people really don't do well in Invisalign for 2 reasons. They're either not taking care of their mouth, they get lazy about like removing the trays and cleaning it up." It's literally the same thing. Like we have the trays to make the change, to change the things that are misplaced. We have the tools. We are actually the most resource generation. You can learn anything, whether it's investing, whether it's budgeting. If you want to learn a new language, it is the most accessible. Before, we had to go to libraries to sit, and we had to do the journal research to pull these things out in libraries, or you had to wait for a book to be available to you. Now you can order it on Kindle, and boom, it's in your phone in 30 seconds. And so these things that are so and what's interesting is the things that make our life easy are things that require such intelligence and consistency to build. That is the most dichotomous thing that's existing. The very thing that makes Amazon super easy, the back end of making it happen is not easy. There's coders, there's engineers, there's thousands of people that make this thing so easy. And so it's this illusion that everything is easy. It's not even actually really real. The 2-day delivery is not happening because Jeff Bezos and them are chilling. It's happening because they're working their asses off. Data camps, data farmers, things that are happening behind the scenes to pull all of this together.
Or warehouses that are pulling items closer, so they know that these are items that your specific area might want.
Exactly. There's so much algorithms going into place, things that are breaking at 1 o'clock in the morning that needs to be, factored in. And so it is actually that naivete of like when we were children And we would be looking at adults like, yeah, I could easily adult. And then we start adulting. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's probably why my mom was a little cranky. That she was 8-hour shift, had to get driving traffic and all this other stuff. And you start understanding it's an illusion that it was easy. It was an illusion that, oh, your mom was cooking the 5-course meal. Oh, I don't know why she couldn't give us this. And when you start to live it out, you recognize it's a lot of more fist pumping going on. There's a lot more energy that's being put in for this to be produced. But we are a generation that does not know how to cook and complain about cooking. The other people that have cooked, oh, the food's not good. But you've never, so it's like,
hey, that's true.
So it's true. And I think that's the literal problem, is because it's an illusion. Because even what we're saying is easy on the back end is actually not. It's just easy for the end consumer. Oh yeah, I would, if I could be God, or how, creation just happened. Like, can you even really create? Could you really sustain? You can't. So I feel like that's what needs.
They could barely create an itinerary for the day.
Exactly.
They can't do anything.
So it's like the illusion of. And then that's the problem. I think they need to be broken off. And I think, like, you're right. Maybe it's level 16 stress that needs to happen, where you have no other way but to make this work. And until we have those moments, we're going to have a generation that is callous, that we're not enough doctors are going to school, not enough nurses, not enough engineers, not enough any of the things that actually make the world function. We're low. And you have people like over there in China that they're making sure that they're not going to fall behind. Well, take y'all off this TikTok so y'all can know how to build something, because they know that you can't have a society that is just thinking that everything is produced out of thin air. It's not produced out of thin air. There's process, even if it's behind the scenes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the biggest part of this is not that, let's say we stop producing domestically, like the average American stop being, more lazy, which is being chronicled, like the actual hours of effort and work and labor hours, productivity is actually going down. What you're finding is that other people are coming in to replace them. This is why you have Indian Americans are the top income generators in America. People are like, how is that possible? Because you stopped being as big a producer as you want to be. You stopped being challenged. You started cheating on tests just to make a grade because you didn't really want to learn. And when you kind of got to the next level that required a deeper amount of thought, creativity, or even reasoning, you didn't have it because you cheated yourself of the process. What we're going to find is not just in the Black community, not just in the white community, but in a lot of Americans, our productivity is such in a low state that somebody else is going to just come in and replace us. Because a lot of these other places, after traveling the world enough, you start noticing some of these other places, they just needed a system that works. The only true thing that I could say that America had, we created a system where other people didn't. After post-World War II, we recreated the modern system of the way society functions, and we kept it that way for a bit, and people basically profited from it as far as constructing, as far as doing what we need to do, building cities, skyscrapers, all these things were stuff that we just started to do at the very beginning, and everybody else started copying, emulating, sending their kids to study here and sending them back. By the time we turned around 100 years later, you find that the rest of the world has almost like left us behind infrastructure wise. Like their train system is insane. The fact that the Bright Line, I'm still mad about that. Bright Line, I thought was a cool idea. You're going to go from West Palm or Miami to Orlando, but it takes 3 hours. You're like, what are you doing? We could go from like London to Paris in 2
hours.
Exactly.
It's not that sophisticated.
But that's the thing. It's in 2 and underneath the English Channel, notoriously the worst like waterway system you can ever go through. That's why they had 100-year wars. That's why when France was never able to almost like overcome England, and England was never able to overcome France, because the channel between them was so terrible that it's the hardest thing to do. And yet human ingenuity found a way to actually build underneath the water, right? And to run it in such an efficient way and a safe way that there's no real big breakdown, knock on wood, knock on plastic and platinum, whatever it is, that they could go from one city to another in about two hours. Whole city.
Yeah, you literally thought there was going to be something innovative, and you looked up and you said, oh, I guess.
I even thought, hey,
something.
is this what it is? But like $80, like, oh my God, this guy's oh yeah, tripping. Yeah, he's tripping. It makes no sense, but this is the world that we live in because we're not keeping up. Our infrastructure is falling apart because
Right.
instead of actually talking about, solutions, right? We're going back and forth about women need to know their place, or manosphere, or she needs to worship me or something. What's the one that they always use? Guys that don't go to church, but they always say they need the women
So
supposed to
submission.
submit. It's like these guys don't even go to church. What's going on? None of this makes any sense. Instead of actual men that build, we have men that just destroy. Yeah, that was a sad episode. Atlanta kind of walked away from all of it. Like she's
Gotta
probably
close
doing
this
something
out
else.
because this
No,
is
I'm
bleak.
listening.
Like,
I'm listening.
I don't let these people be very negative today.
No, Lovely gave us a sprinkle of hope, and you went right back to doomsday.
Right. It's called realism out here. It's called realism.
If you want to say so.
But I did get a lot of comments though. I'm getting a lot of comments from these guys.
About
I'm serious.
what? About that same article?
Yeah, that same article. They're going
Oh,
in.
you made a comment?
No, they're the one that sent
Hey,
it to
tell
me.
them. Hey, comment
And-
this. Hey, comment this. Let's be problematic. Comment this. If a guy doesn't have a home, move in with. They got plenty of them.
Move in with who?
If the man don't have a home, just move in with the woman because apparently they have plenty of them.
Obviously they got a house is what it is. Complete opposite.
Don't comment. Don't do that. Just
Like, let me read this one without actually tossing out names. Like, we can't shy away from some realities that Black women are dealing with the same school to prison pipeline that Black men are dealing with. Yet we are targeted, turned into men, and dealt with this much from the age of 10. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. When you control for class and education, Black women are on par with their white counterparts, nowhere near the same for Black men. Black women are in prison at twice the rate of white women. Black men are in prison at 16 times the rate of white men. It goes on. It's like there is a case to be made of systematic challenges that Black men face, and an equally compelling case to be made in the overtures that have been made specifically towards Black women for opportunities professionally and for entrepreneurial support, which has caused a positive domino effect for them, having more resources and being targeted and reinforced in our capitalistic media to attract their increase in spending. As someone who is in media and knows the power of imagery, reinforcing images of Black women empowerment and Black male futility will only add to the issues of which you bemoan, Lawrence. The reality is there are lazy Black men, but what is noticed as well is the system that makes it hard at the macro level for them to achieve.
What?
I hit it with a love button because I don't care. Yeah. You see how all this works really to say that there is a problem, but yet everything is working for Black women and everything is not working for Black men. That's what he's trying to say. And it's unfair. Wham, wham, wham.
And it comes down
I hear
to
that a lot
it's
too.
fair or not,
Everything is
but
working for us and nothing is working for them where we both have the same resources. Okay. I don't know. I think this discussion and this topic, this Black woman, Black man, just so draining.
It is.
It's draining, yo.
I just my only comment to that is like sad, just sadness. What you want me to say about this? I'm not meant to be weak, so I cannot fashion myself to be like these guys. It's just not me.
I think the same way that some single women become triggered when a lot of these guys say this and that, whatever, that you're gonna die alone, all this other stuff. The same way some of these men are triggered when these reports and their things come out. Like, hey, step it up, But I don't know.
I think it's so much easier to just be able to say that it's everything else is this issue, but me. It's easy. You
Yeah,
say it
the point
and
the
you
finger at something else, or this idea, or this historical, thing that happened, or whatever situation, maybe, or it's still happening in some places, but whatever it is, but to turn the finger on yourself and to realize that you are in control of your own life.
right.
We don't want to say that.
Right.
We don't want to say that.
Because it's like
That's
you only
the
have a
real
lifetime.
conversation.
I
Go
think
ahead.
what's scary is that we only have this lifetime to kind of contribute or do whatever. But one of the other things that I feel like that's important to know is that we talk this big game about legacy. We talk about it all the time. It's a frequently used word. We continue to compel that we want these legacies or we want to contribute, but I feel like right now I'm like one family at a time. One family at a time, meaning instead of going macro, going micro. Like if you can help one friend at a time, one person at a time to invest and to show how something can probably be, good for them to do to help them in their future, I think that's really the only important thing I see. Because in this long term thinking of wanting many families to change, sometimes no one is helped because the masses already have a belief system. No matter how much is talked about, people want to be in a soapbox and they don't want to actually do the work that's actually required for change to take place individually. So you'll start talking about the growth and it's like, well, this is what's going on and this is how they have the things running against us. But it's like, I get it. But if we don't start doing something, then we're going to be in the perpetual same behavior. So,
and this whole legacy thing, I'm more convinced that the people, the men, the women, whoever, continuously talk about this topic of legacy. Is it really truly legacy that you're leaving behind, or just leaving issues and problems with the children that you procreate? Because there's no change. What's true legacy? That's more subjective than anything. I don't think they really truly believe in legacy. What they think, or the illusion of what legacy may be. Because if you're not changing yourself, you're just bringing those issues and problems to your potential family someday.
right.
That's all it is. Like I told LG a while ago, like a lot of these men, this whole legacy thing, they don't want legacy. They just let Timun to say I have passed my name down. That's all they want. I just want kids.
Nah, they just want to smash women.
That part too.
Let's break it down. They just want to smash
even
women.
on a micro level, they just want to smash, right?
Yeah,
So
that's really what it is.
if a kid come out of it, like, you know what I'm saying?
Reason the kid is almost like it's weird. It's like an anchor. It's a I still have that woman because she got my kid. That's just what that is. It is a shackle. It is an anchor. But the main deal is to smash. It's social capital. It's not real capital. It's not real wealth. It's just social capital. It's like, well, I smashed 20 women, 40 women, 50 women. That is social capital. It's not real money. It's not real wealth. And it's the easiest thing you can do. And if you get a kid out of it, multiple kids out of it, I guess. But in essence, you're not building anything. You're still a very purposeless man.
So that's not legacy. That's continuum issue, generational trauma.
Mm-hmm. Strongly at that.
See how his doomsday kind of rubbed up on me? I just thought about it. Just sprinkle over here.
Sprinkle here, sprinkle there. Hey, they call me bootstrapper, which is the funniest thing. I'm like, this is the most noir American thing to say.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. That is the most.
No, somebody called me that too.
It's just the noir American thing.
Someone said my ideology is that too. Okay. Let's talk about. One second.
Before we get into this is a beautiful episode of the Financial Griot. We're gonna close out this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna let Lawrence and Atlanta tell you where they can find themselves online. I think I said that correctly. You can find me at Lovely Mardelis on LinkedIn, anywhere on social media. Atlanta, then Lawrence. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks everyone for listening. You can find me on IG streets. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, thank you for listening. You can find me around as well in some kind of chat room with somebody kind of yelling at me. So it is what it is. But we do thank you for listening to us. You've been rocking with us for a very long time, for over 100 episodes. It's been a great run. We've been trying to teach people as much of self-resilience, self-understanding, and even a deeper seeking of purpose, right? And if you could get there, you could actually do anything in the world. So your life could be better, your relationships could be better, and your family and your community could also be better. So keep seeking better people, better communities, and better relationships. Deuces.
TFG. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.